Okay, welcome everybody. Glad you're here. Well, we'll rehash the game a little bit. We've been through it and gone on, but we'll go back for a second. It was one of those games that I suppose you'd describe as a great football game, close to the best. A lot of good defense by both teams for sure. Some pretty good special teams plays and play. And, you know, for us looking at it, it was, I'm sure in a close game everybody says this, but for us the opportunities as you go back and look at the game and watch the thing in total, our opportunities lost are somewhat haunting and could be disappointing and also make you mad. All those things together. So, you know, we have to take it critically, coaches, and examine all the parts, the execution and the choices, all those parts that are always out there for us. Tough reflection, but I really appreciate our team. Like I said, I thought that we made a comeback that I thought we were going to win the game, and it was set on a platter for us a couple of times at the end of regulation and then in overtime, and we didn't take advantage of it, and that's what makes you probably first disappointed and then just kind of mad at yourself and the whole situation. But anyway, that's what that looked like. You know, the game was pretty clean, not very many penalties. Probably one of the biggest things that stands out is our illegal procedure, false starts on our punt team with their movement. We fell for it twice. And we had one illegal formation that was not by our receivers. If you don't know, it was by our tackle was too deep in the backfield, they said, which we've been warned about a lot during the year. And it's kind of natural. You'll see it in the punt game and in offensive football. Sometimes the tackles try to cheat back enough, you know, just to get a little bit more space with the defensive end, and there's a fine line in there, and usually you get a warning about it, but we got called on that. And then the turnovers, you know, we're disappointed in our turnovers in the deal, but we got two more from them. Nate Gary made a couple of really nice. We made one that was pretty easy for him in the middle, then made a real nice play on their bootleg. Not very many explosive plays in the game. They had a couple of big runs, and we didn't have much. We had some guys make some plays. I mean, we had one nice 19-yard run and a couple of passes where guys caught and ran pretty well. You know, I thought that, you know, when you look at the stats at the end of the game, and our third down deal was still pretty good. We were at 50%. And so sometimes those kinds of statistics don't necessarily reflect how you feel about the game in general, and then you're kind of surprised by it. We did a nice job defensively on third down. I think they were 5 for 13. But where we failed, they got a couple of big third down runs that, you know, kind of passing situation run calls that they hit for a couple of their big plays. So we are... you know, going to use that game like we have all the others and try to learn from it and get better. And we've got a lot of work to do offensively to gain a rhythm. You know, I just think that we have to overall with our tailback, and I'm not placing the blame on the tailback obviously here, but we just got to get our running game just better first and second down. Feel good about that. Be really decisive with what we choose to do in the passing game, and then defensively, I think continue to grow and look at those situations. We've improved dramatically in a lot of ways this year defensively, and there are some good signs. Our third down conversion defense is pretty good. The number of first downs that we've given up during the total of the game is pretty good. I think it's 16th in the country. Interceptions, we've gone way up. We're first. The total defense, we've improved lots of spots. We're 20th in the nation and 4th in the conference, and our turnover margin is much better, partly due to the fact that we've gotten the ball quite a bit more this year than we did a year ago. So there's good signs out there. We got to continue to grow in. We're going to be in that late third quarter, fourth quarter of the season, so our improvement is big. And of course, we're playing a great, talented team this week, so we're going to have to take advantage of our opportunities this week. We're going to have to kind of tighten down some of those things that we failed on in the Wisconsin game. Guys that played well in the game, Stanley Morgan is just more and more emerging as a real competitive, tough guy that we can lean on. I think Newby continues to play well, and it was great to have Jordan Westerkamp back, and he made a couple of his patented plays. Josh Banderas continues to play at a really high level, 13 tackles, and really good tackling by him, good decisive tackling. Michael Rose-Ivy had one of his best games. Josh Kalu continues to play real well. Kevin Maurice is an all-star. He's a really good player. If you take the time to watch him and see what he does, it's big. Mick Stoltenberg had one of his better games, and of course Nate had 7 tackles and 2 interceptions, and played physically. And Aaron Williams is a playmaker. He's a good football player, does a nice job. Special teams, Chris Weber continues to be a star there for us, as does Brad Simpson. Josh Banderas has been on the teams for 3 weeks now and continues to make plays. Bose Joseph is emerging as a good special teams player and doing some good things. And I always appreciate Chris's kicking. I think that he does a really good job, and I think has played with tremendous poise this year. So we play Ohio State. They have defensively, they're ranked nationally and in the conference high in most of those categories, and have good talented players from front to back. There's outstanding defensive line play, and a couple of sack leaders there, 59 and 97, and then in their second level, their linebackers are good players. They have a really good defensive tackle, 67, also up front, and then their secondary is stingy. Play a lot of man-to-man coverage, hard to beat, good athletes. They play to their help very well. They're good. And then offensively, they're also amongst the leaders in most of the categories. They've got the total offensive leaders, and the quarterback is a dynamic, really good runner, passer. Their system perfect for him, obviously, and they've got some playmakers amongst that too. So it'll be a big chore for us. We've got to play a great, complete ball game. And like I said, be ready to take advantage of any opportunities that are presented as we go. So from there, I'll open it up to questions.
Status of Farmer and Dedrick Young.
We have high hopes for Dedrick. He has a bad elbow, but we're going to see how he goes through the week. And my guess, I don't want to say my hope. I hope it's higher than that, but I think he'll play. And then Tanner Farmer will not. He's got the pretty severe ankle sprain. Sethan Carter is on his way back. I don't know about this game. We'll look at him starting tomorrow, see where he is, and he's been working out, hitting bags, running routes, doing some stuff. So he's close. And we'll see how that goes this week. It'd be good to have him back, but I want to make sure he's really well and feels really good. It might be one of those deals where he's pretty close, and it might be best to keep him out another week just for his comfort in playing, but he's pretty close.
Like after a day I've seen the film and everything, how would you evaluate Tommy's game at the end of the night?
Tommy battled like crazy. Tom, he was under duress a lot. We have one of those stats that is a great, great stat. But, until you really look, if you really look deep at it, he's responsible for a big part of it, and that is we have the least amount of sacks in the league. And you give credit where credit's due to the offensive line and the backs and the tight ends that block in the pass protection. But Tommy is pretty dynamic back there, and he's hard to catch, and he's bailed us out of a lot of stuff. So that was the kind of game he was in quite a bit. Wisconsin's defense can be pretty overwhelming. Their speed and size, tough. They're really sound defensively. So we had a lot of issues, but I thought Tommy battled, made some plays. We found some stuff late that he was hitting some balls on. It's pretty neat when it gets really, really tight and tough. He makes a lot of plays, but I think that in general, our whole offensive game has to elevate. We need better running in our regular running game with our tailback. Probably help us to get the screen game going a little bit more. We just need a little bit more balance. We ran one screen in the game and hit it pretty good. So probably need to escalate some of that stuff and take some pressure off the quarterback. Screens and running game can be pretty good for those guys. So I think that Tommy's game was pretty much our offensive outlook on the game. I thought there was some good stuff, but pretty sporadic, hard to come by.
Mike, you kind of size up the West race. You guys still got your one-game lead going into this week.
Yeah.
Kind of size up kind of where you're at and where you're headed.
Well, that's as we head into these last ball games, the standings. Obviously, this is a real understatement, but it becomes more real. And you've got to. It's better to be where we are right now with a lead, and then we got to fight like crazy to keep it. You see, there are teams in our division that are all of a sudden playing their best ball. Of course, you got Wisconsin who we just played, and Northwestern's playing their best ball of the year, and so is Minnesota. So there's stuff looming out there that I understand, but the fact of the matter is, if you just take care of business week to week and focus on it. But the thing is, what I'm getting at is really competitive, and so if somebody falters, you lose very valuable ground. So obviously, looking back, that Wisconsin, if we could have won that game, that'd been a huge game in this race down to the wire. But we didn't, so it's tightened up for us a little bit, and there won't be a lot of margin for error. Because some of these teams are rising, they're in pretty good shape, and you got to win.
In the last 3 games, you've had 5 true 2-minute drill situations. You scored 0 points in those 5 situations, and you've thrown 2 interceptions. What's the problem there, and how do you fix it?
Well, I think that just looking at this last game, those are situations that I think that we put a lot of time in, have put a ton of time into those, and they become those where the execution of the play, starting with the protection if you're throwing the football. So how do you improve it? We've got to have good, solid protection so the quarterback can then execute, and then you've got to execute from there. Making the right choice in the throw, making the catch, all that stuff. And that, frankly, has been really disappointing to me because I've seen improvement in our team as we've gone through the season. In the situations that we practice during the week, I've liked it, and there's been some good stuff. But making it happen in a ball game, it's probably That's why we don't play a up-tempo type game. It's probably not right up our alley. So it's kind of, we've got to get out of the box and be able to no huddle and make plays and communicate and put plays on top of plays. And then there are situations where we probably got to do a better job if we want to improve it of seeing what the defense is giving us. You know, we all watch a lot of TV football stuff when we can, and you see some of those games where people are so good at it. You know, if you watch, you know, in the day, Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, and so much of it is just, you know, you think you need those big hits in the 2-minute drill, and what you need is just yardage. And so the utilization of the back becomes a big deal in a 2-minute situation. And so many times, you know, they're focusing on the coverage down here and the pressure up here, and there's a void in there. So you really have to do a better job of taking what the defense is giving you and just move the chains. Stop the clock in college football with the movement. So all those parts, it's really all summed up. It's just execution of what you need to do. See what they're giving you. Take the throw that you can down the field. Dump the ball off to whatever you have underneath and get first downs.
You know, last year against Miami and against Michigan State, Tommy finished the deal. There were times prior to last season where it seemed better.
Yeah.
Have you guys pared down the playbook in a way that limits you guys on those 2-minute drill situations? And how much have you missed Ethan Carter?
Well, I think that when you have that interior receiver that is a threat like that, I think that that's probably a very good point, a major factor. We haven't those situations like the 2-minute drill, Sam. They have their own particular package, so we haven't really narrowed any of that part of it down. Now, you know, we used a little bit more of some of this stuff play to play in the game than we are this year, you know, because some of it that you're using in the 2-minute takes a little more time, so you have to be always wary of your play call according to the protection. And so, you know, we did a little bit more of that more often, and you know, part of the result was we got some of those things and we made some plays, but we also had many more turnovers and many more minus plays probably. So it balances out. But yes, we have to do better at it.
Did you think you could have run the ball on that final drive of regulation against Wisconsin? You had 2 timeouts. You guys
Yes.
had to throw it 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
But
Probably could have. You know, I thought we had a great thing going where we could have almost done whatever we wanted to and not be in that mode as much. You know, I think the biggest issue with making that call, Danny's got to make that call, is that it's not like we had been real dynamic running the ball. I mean, so, you know, 2 or 3 yards on first down like we were getting in a lot of situations wouldn't have been a great feel for that kind of attack mode that you want to have. But yes, we had the time to do that, and sometimes people panic with that. When you have a couple timeouts and a minute plus on the clock, you got a lot of plays, you know, so at your disposal. So you really can have more of a mixture. You can use all parts of the field. You don't have to just worry about sideline throws. And in college football with the first downs and the clock stopping, then it even adds more to you. So, yeah, those things are kind of haunting for sure, and we'll continue to examine it. And it's something, you know, in our world that we love. We just really want to make it look like football, really be proficient at it. So when you fail at it and you spend a lot of time at it, you got to kind of look back.
Mike, which of the 4 overtime plays bugged you the most, the offensive plays, when you look back at it?
Oh, man, I thought that there were opportunities on just about all of them, Dirk. You know, the run option play, you know, that was interesting. That had, Tommy ended up giving the ball, and it might not have been a real clean look at it, but boy, it had great capabilities if he'd have kept it with the position we had, blocking on the edge. So, that's kind of haunting and tough to look back on. And then the throw to Jordan, I think that's one choice, and, then he gets kind of beat up in the middle of the formation. If we'd have been a little bit earlier to him or waited just a hair longer, Zoe was going to be in great shape on that. So I think that's kind of a trademark play for us. So, to call a play of a run action that the quarterback's real familiar with at that time, I think is a smart thing to do. And then we'd been hitting Stanley one-on-one to the field in that last play of the game. And so we kind of faked the play we'd been hitting him on and went down into that hole. And I thought that was a good choice too. And they become bang-bang plays that you got to make, and we didn't make any of them. And maybe the run choice, and then the options on the pass after that, and then just a little bit different ball, a little bit wider ball on that. Stanley beat the corner pretty good. Throw it away from the safety just a hair more, and we strike up the band.
Hey, Mike, what's your knowledge on Urban Meyer and his coaching background? I mean, have you followed him much over the years?
I have, obviously in college football, Urban's, he, kind of back out in our neck of the woods when I was at Oregon State. He was at Utah, I think, and so we knew of him and the work that he's done all through his career. And then I've gotten to know him a little bit through our work associations through the years, and obviously he's one of those guys that you admire the work and respect the work that he's done for a long time.
And Mike, kind of following along with that, the run that Ohio State has been on under Urban, the last 3 games have been a little closer than what some people thought. But the way they recruit and so forth, is there an intimidation factor that Ohio State presents to some opponents, especially when they come into the horseshoe?
I don't know about that. I think that what you see right now in our league, I suppose that they have been that team. And every conference probably has that in some fashion for a cycle. We went through that cycle when Pete came into the Pac-12. SC, started to take off and set the standard. And I think that's what Ohio State has done. Probably, I haven't been in it very long here, nor have I ever been to Columbus. But I've had a lot of respect for what they've done, and obviously their recruiting has been outstanding, and they coach them well, and they play good football, and have won a lot of ball games. So they've been that team in the league lately that set the bar. But I think that there's teams rising too. So that's kind of exciting. I think that, you either get in a situation like this. SC did it in our league, and you either rise up and get better yourself, or you get left way in the dust. And so the bar is set high. I think the whole Big Ten is rising as competitively, and I think that that's part of the process of how leagues and teams get better.
Could you kind of describe the challenge that your guys have mentally? Because it's been a while since they've lost a game, and now they have a disappointing loss they're coming off of and have to go play at Ohio State. How big of a task is that for them mentally to be right for that?
I think that is a good question that I don't think will apply to our team. I think our team actually will be mad. I think that you can be sad or you can be mad, and you can have a chip on your shoulder and know we can be better and go play hard, which we'll have to play hard and well to win. Well, hard and well to win the game. But that's the approach I think our team will take.
Coach, something you've had to deal with all season now. How do you kind of shuffle the guys on the offensive line to get them ready for this next game?
Well, it's a big issue, as things happen with your team during the year. That offensive line thing started in our fall camp and has grown as we've gone through the year. We've had some people step in and do admirable jobs. I'm really proud of that, and that's what we'll have again. Corey Whitaker is a older guy in the program. I've got a lot of respect for him. He always appears to be ready, and then he goes in, and when a guy goes in like that, you want it to be as seamless as possible, and Corey helps us do that with what he knows and how he plays. So, that's how we'll probably end up doing it for this game and then get the next wave ready to go behind those guys that can step in and play.
The way Ohio State was, or Wisconsin was, dropping those defensive ends, how big of a wrinkle was that threw you guys off as far as taking away those passes lanes and causing those deflections? And how do you kind of prepare for that now? Because I'm guessing some other teams might try that approach.
Well, that was not new from Wisconsin. That's a base part of their defense, and that's what you can do in the 3-4. Those guys are kind of hybrid rush guys, and also in a spot where they can threaten the rush and then drop into the pass, and they're those kind of athletes. They've got kind of that combination abilities, and finding that guy that can be good off the edge and then be in that part, whether it's playing man-to-man or covering a zone like they were doing. There's no doubt that what you have to be ready for is the mixture of that guy being a pressure guy, that guy being a coverage guy. How do you account for that in the protection? How do you account for that in what the quarterback's looking for? So that's how you have to play against it. But it wasn't a surprise. That is a base part of how they play.
Mike, when you first arrived, did you recognize that Josh Banderas and Nathan Gary were going to be two guys as you tried to build this thing over these 2 years that were going to be key from a peer leadership perspective, or did it take some time to see that?
With Nate and Josh, as we were here in a short period of time, you could see that, probably the first thing as you got to know the guys a little bit is that those two guys had a lot of respect from this team. Both good examples of, I think what Nebraska is about, and that wasn't really hard to pick out pretty early.
Mike, you have a general defense philosophy as a staff of defending mobile quarterbacks like Barrett. I mean, is it dependent on the quarterback, the team, a general?
When you have a guy that's as good an athlete as this, and then they use him in multiple ways, both obviously as a run pass option guy, as a runner, as a passer. I mean, he's one of those guys that is really good all around, and so you have to have, obviously a plan to defend what they do generally offensively, how they approach the game, and then with that, you've got to then kind of take it in a step further. How are you going to defend certain people? And he's one of those guys that, yes, you may need a spy on, in passing situations, because the threat of what he does running the ball in those situations, even on non-called runs by the quarterback, they can be so disruptive. So you've got to have kind of a multiple plan that way for a guy like this.
In your coaching travels, do you have a situation where you play such difficult back-to-back road games as this?
Probably, but this clouds it all right now. It kind of dominates. It's probably not very many times do you anywhere, right, play the two teams ranked this high back-to-back. That's just the way it is.
What did you think when you saw the schedule and saw these two teams on the schedule back-to-back on the road, two giant stadiums? What was your thought process?
Well, it's actually, when it's months away, it's kind of exciting. And then you're in it. So, but where we are right now with that loss on our heels, but this year I'm just looking forward to getting with this team. I love our team and what we're getting to do. So we're going to go after these guys and see what we can get done. We know it's a big chore. This is a good football team that's well coached with a lot of good players. So we're going to go get ready to go and find a way to beat them.
Do you see this as kind of like the USC of the Big Ten?
That's what it reminds me of that. As I was asked the question earlier and thought back to those times, is you see the ebb and flow and the cycle of life over a long period of time in a league, and what happens, and I think at that time, early on in the 2000s when Pete Carroll did come into SC and kind of rejuvenated it. I mean, it's like Ohio State. They've got all the tools there and all the history, and so they're just kind of kickstarting it once again. But when that happened, you know, they became that team, you know, so it was always exciting to get a chance to play them. But you knew it was going to be tough, and I did think that everybody in the league got better, and I see that happen in our league right now. I think that there's those teams that, you know, we talked about Indiana being one of those teams, right? They're a good football team, and they've kind of risen up with the group.
I know it's hard to recruit against USC when you're at Oregon State, and you're recruiting against Ohio State.
Yeah.
How's that process going? And they have the #1 recruiting class in the country right now. What's the challenges there, and how do you win a couple against a school like that?
Well, I think that we've sure got a lot to sell here, and we're excited about. We've been excited about our class like a year ago, and real excited about what we're doing right now. We understand that to compete with them, we've got to get in that league of recruiting and get some of those guys. And I think we're doing pretty well and growing and learning more about it as we're here. We've got a great, great place. It is fun to recruit to Nebraska, so we'll continue to grow in that. But you're on the right track. That's what you got to do if you want to win the national championship and play, you know, be in that talk and be relevant that way. Then you got to recruit good players.
Beating them wouldn't hurt, right?
Would not hurt one bit, no.
I know you don't follow polls, you know, that much, but you only dropped 2 spots after losing a game. What does that tell you?
Well, you know, I think that you know, our record kind of puts us into that deal where we should be ranked high, and then I think, I'm guessing this now, you guys would answer this question better than me, but I think people needed some confirmation about who we really were in playing a team that was also ranked at one time and a real top 10 team like Wisconsin, and how we would do. And when we played that game, I guess that's one part that did come out of it that was good. I think that more people, where we were ranked was confirmed in their eyes, so we didn't drop too far. That's just my assumption. What do you think about that? All right, thank you.